Welcome back to the Amazon European Masters Semifinals live from our studio in Berlin. It is still quite early, but this series might already end with the next game if GameWard does not come up with something new to dig down this extremely strong BDS academy.
Yeah, it felt like they kind of had the same idea going into Game 2 of the whole kind of deny Crownie from playing League of Legends thing, except it felt like they had a trio that didn't really stick as strongly this time around. And also, I feel like the rest of the map kind of fell apart a little bit faster than perhaps they're anticipating. Top side of the map, Adam getting that gank from jungler so early on to kind of sway that Darius matchup where he took over individually. Again, it feels like a bit of a soft repeat with slightly different events going on in the game.
I feel like if the game between BDSA and Vitality B Game 1 was not enough to prove to you that if Crownie falls behind, the rest of the map will stabilize enough until he's back into the game. I think Game 1 of this series should have sung the same song over to GameWard, that no matter how hard you put this guy down, we have such strong core solo laners on the other side of the map that will do the deal until this guy can come back and deal damage on picks like Aphelios and Sivir. And I feel like GameWard need to shake up that early game because I feel like they keep doing the same move over and over again, and even though it does put a bunch of kills and experience lead and gold lead into Innaxe, it's just not enough.
I mean, same moves. It was 3 times the same move because I think Akabane went for 3 ganks before 14 minutes, but it was actually Crownie and Erdote who actually, you know, they handle very well the pressure.
And that was a very weird pathing that we saw from Akabane. He went red to golems, to chickens, to all the way down bot lane because that wave was building up. And Innaxe, the bot lane in general from the side of GameWard have been doing the same thing where they will build up that first wave and try to crush it underneath the tower. And by the time that happens, the jungler is there. They try to pull up a dive. Even if it doesn't work, they'll deprive the bot lane of experience and gold, and they'll get their AD carry ahead. And this is all good and dandy to get your AD carry ahead. But what do you do when the rest of your map is rotten?
Yeah, you know, my biggest worry here at the moment, now that I think about it, is that we kind of see a repeat of the quarterfinals matchup for BDSA where GameWard are going to be like, okay, we played 2 games, we're playing to bot, didn't work out.
Let's do it again.
Let's go. No, actually worse. Let's go to play towards the top side, except, sure, we get a lead, but then it's kind of just a reverse. You're doing the exact same thing. You get a lead from the top side, but then you don't actually do anything on the rest of the map. And that's kind of what Vitality B ended up doing, where they got a lead for Segenda, and then even though Adam was quite far behind, actually what ended up in that game a little bit more specifically was Crown Shot and Erdote went untouched. So they kind of just took over the game a bit in their own right. And then Adam was still on one of these, you know, really irritating to deal with space-buying bulky bruisers that just take over team fights regardless.
So what you're saying is we actually need 2 junglers for GameWard.
Yes.
We need 1 for bot lane and 1 for top lane. That's basically what we need.
I feel like this says a lot. The fact that we need 1 jungler for top side and 1 jungler for bot side, it feels like there is just not a single plan coming together into this game. You're playing for your top side of the map, yet you know you're going to be camping bot side of the map, but then the rest of your map is constantly losing pressure the entire time. And I don't know if this falls down to the players or the draft, because at this point you're like, if you're going to first pick a Swain, you technically need to hold onto your own in the mid lane. If we're going to give you the Akali into the Aatrox, you need to hold on to your own because we know we're going to camp towards the bots of the map. I think as a team, they need to come up with a very sound plan.
Now, looking at the other side of the jungle, because, I mean, the jungle matchup in particular has been a very vocal point in this series. Now, Sheo, I mean, you're a big Sheo fan, it seems like, Trouble, because you keep talking about this man.
I think this guy's LEC speed running any percentage right now. The way he's playing the map, the way he can figure out where the enemy jungler is no matter what, the way he can min-max situations when he's been pushed to the limit, when he's being invaded, when he's being attacked. The way that he can find ways back into the game has been absolutely stellar, alongside the fact that he will fill in the gaps to whatever his team desires him to do.
Yeah, I feel like also this guy just needs to be taken off Sejuani this series. I feel like he's just been too strong in it. It was the same idea in the cores, and I feel like right now in the semis, he's just kind of, well, allowed freedom in the early game to hit a point where once you hit level 6, you just become even more oppressive, not just around the melee lanes this time, but with more ranged engage. And sometimes you can just throw the ult out there, not commit, and if it lands, you just see everybody jump on top of it. Look at his stats.
Oh like, my lord!
Just this series, he's died once. He is a 36 KD at the moment.
That's some quick
KDA
math.
rather.
That's some quick math.
That is ridiculous. 4 plus 32, Colin. come on now. Anyway.
But he has one death.
He has one death as well. So like, it just, yeah. I think the fact that he's been so pivotal in like setting up not just the early games for BDSA in the areas where they need to actually just kind of come back or stabilize the entire map state. I think the fact that he's been, again, I'll continue to reiterate this point, allowed so much freedom on the Sejuani pick post that early game in the mid game. I think it's a pick that at this point maybe just needs to be denied. But I feel the issue is not BDSA, rather, GameWard feel a little bit choked out on the bans in general at the moment, right? I think the fact that they only swapped over to the Poppy ban after game 1 is kind of a bit of a big tell at the moment as to how they're feeling.
And I love this. The fact that we came into the stage and said Akabane is going to have to play a big role for GameWard. If he doesn't do it, GameWard can't do it. He is the aggressor, he is the brawler, he is the skirmisher, he is the one that almost single-handedly took down X7 in that 3-0 sweep that GameWard had versus them in the quarterfinals. And I feel like so far, BDSA have been so clever to choke out and take away his main 2 champions that he can wreak havoc on the Rift with, which is the Vi and the Wukong. You take these 2 away. We were talking about in the green, we're like, how about a Xin Zhao, maybe a Javan? They take these 2 away as well. And especially when you have to join, you're like, okay, but why are they banning Javans and they're banning Xin Zhaos without banning the Trundles? Because they're not scared of Akabane's Trundle because they know that this is not the type of jungler he wants to play. Yes, Trundle is really strong into the Sejuani, but he cannot do what he wants to do when he's putting 3rd, 4th, 5th picks off of his S tier.
And we know we can do it, as you already mentioned, but you see that if Akabane doesn't put in the throttle, as we mentioned, the Akabane sports mode, as we like to put it, these fights look terrible for GameWard.
Yeah, it's, what is it in F1? I think it's DRS, is it? When they
DRS.
DRS mode right now for Akabane, they need to find it because it just seems like GameWard, for lack of a better way of putting it, are kind of just sat on their hands a little bit after the first couple of plays don't go well, and the BDSA are just taking over the game. Look at the damage stats, man.
You need less on your karma, man. Like, your karma support.
Yeah, something needs to change here. I think it can definitely start with the jungle.
That's not an Adam Aatrox, by the way.
Yeah, like so. I don't want it to sound like I'm really hitting on Akabane here, but I feel like because he is kind of the engine for his team, he has to be in good shape first before the rest of the map can actually take shape.
I feel like the Lucian was probably him reaching really deep into his pool because back when he was playing in big, his Lucian was a champion that was very feared, for. And right here, he actually had, if not 100% kill participation, very close to. It's just so difficult to play Lucian, man, into Renata, Oriana, Sejuani, Darius. Like, who do you kick into your team? The Darius? The Sejuani? Like, it's so difficult. And then Sivir has a spell shield. Crownie was so good at actually spell shielding on the spot the kicks that Akabane was throwing his way. So, yes, he was his champion. Yes, he did pretty well. If we look at KDA and if we look at how his skill participation went into this game, but it was just so difficult to play the champion because he had to reach so deep into the pool.
If we take a closer look at this post-game breakdown, I do feel like it was a completely different game than game 2. Because game 1 was kind of like, yeah, this is a BDS show, and now it went pretty even. And then all of a sudden they accelerate, and it all comes down and back to the fact that Akabane isn't really putting that much pressure, as you mentioned, Trouble. Now, moving forward to game 3, potentially the last game, honestly, I didn't expect it to be a 3-0. I mean, possibly a 3-0.
See, he's seen the script.
Yeah, I see the script. I'm sorry.
I kind of did, but you leaked the script. No. I kind of did, but I was like, you know what? Maybe BDSA will just misstep. Maybe Crownie will not be able to come back in one of these games. The same thing that happened in their LFL finals versus LDOC. But now that I'm looking at it, it feels like GameWard do not have a solid plan. I think maybe going over to the blue side, either take away the Sejuani or the Vi for yourself. We know Akabane plays both the Sejuani and the Vi try to go over to the blue side, take away key champions, because so far, this is what BDSA came in doing from the side of Sheo. They're banning the Vi, they're banning the Wukong, and then they're like, you can play whatever the heck you want. You can play the Trundle to the Sejuani. We're not scared of it.
Is that the answer? I mean, I never thought I would say this, but Sejuani first pick, is that the answer here?
BDSA have done it. And it's working for them.
G2 did it as well
G2
in playoffs.
Like, I feel like, especially when you're on blue side, well, it's definitely a little more flexible on red side, but I think on blue side, you can get away with then kind of just holding your top lane pick for a little while longer. And I feel like, as you can kind of see from the pick order here, it doesn't say it, but that is obviously GameWard on red and BDSA on blue. They've been kind of picking top relatively early. They did it in game 1, obviously, after they saw Adam's pick, but I think right now, going for that Sejuani first pick and then potentially having the opportunity to just kind of send it top. Sure, you might have to deal with one of Adam's champion pools, but then it kind of splits the ban focus potentially to just kind of have BDSA go, we don't know if this is going top, we don't know if it's going jungle, maybe we have to kind of split bans, and you still then have Akabane champion pool available to him.
So if BDS Academy wins this, they will be undefeated up until the final.
The finals. Oof, that brings me LDLC vibes though.
Exactly,
and they
that's
did
what I
lose
was
to
going
K-Corp.
for. This is a repeat of spring.
That's not a good omen to bring up for BDSA.
I had to put it out there. Everything is set up for Game 3 as Team BDS Academy will look to end it here and advance to the final. They seem unbeatable right now, but are they? What do you think, Ox, Nymera, and Oishi?
Yes. Moving on. Anyway, coming back into this one, welcome back one and all to the Amazon EU Masters. We are going to be casting what could potentially be our final game. Eye contact. You broke it. You ruined it. Anyway, moving into this one here, we've seen two compositions here from GameWard where they just needed to have explosive early games. It didn't happen. And I thought Trouble made a fantastic point on the desk as well about it doesn't matter how far behind you put Crown Shot. Crown Shot's not the issue.
Yeah, the rest of the map is going to stabilize to the point where Crownie is going to be relevant again. And that's been the problem. And as Trouble was saying, we saw that from the very first game that BDS Academy had in playoffs. If you haven't figured that out by now, that's a problem.
Yeah, I feel like it's just the fact that BDSA have so many lanes that they can carry through. And it feels like you can't shut them all down. You have to lean into one so heavily that you're able to get enough of a lead that you can take over the game. But it feels like even when we see GameWard find advantages, there's still mistakes, there's still issues, there's still problems. That last game, we saw them playing through bot heavily, but then Akabane ended up making that misplay around Dragon, lost the Dragon as well, that offsets the Soul, and obviously put a bit more of an advantage towards the side of BDSA. I feel like, not only do they need to find a lane they can play through effectively, but they need to be so much cleaner on it.
And coming into this tournament, actually, I was speaking to Melonik and Erdote from an LFL English, and they were saying actually GameWard were the versatile team in the LFL. They were the team that could play through multiple lanes. Maybe less so Melonik, he was the least likely person to do that, apart from his Gangplank. Of course, that's less so in meta right now. But looking at BDS Academy, they are out-punching pound for pound across the map, and that is really difficult because you know that GameWard have been typically a very adaptable, very intelligent team, but they're not even getting to the start line in these games right now because they're being outclassed across their lanes.
Yeah, I think it just comes down to how do GameWard change this? What do they need to come out with? Because right now it does feel like the side selection's not working for them. They're giving up the Sejuani twice in a row. I feel like they need to swap over, get something different, try something new, because if you lose the same thing 3 times, you don't really learn much from that.
I mean, look, I feel like they should have switched to blue side after on game 2.
Yeah.
But this always happens. If you lose 2 games in a row on the same side, game 3, almost every pro team goes, okay, we're switching. We're going to try the different approach because this side isn't working. But blue side has been so strong this entire year.
Dusty made it. They did it. We flipped the script. How do we stop BDS from winning the Amazon EU Masters? We take them out of the game.
You must be truly desperate if you come to the NLC for answers. Of course, we do, however, see GameWard on that blue side. So this changes some priorities. We are seeing the Caitlyn ban on the blue side. We have known, of course, typically in drafting, red side is where you get a lot of your power picks put into that ban phase. You don't want to be first picked. You get to put a bit more flavor into your bans when you're on blue side, and that Caitlyn has been one of those against Crownie.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons GameWard has been so afraid of letting BDS Academy be on red is because of the fact that giving counter pick to Adam is so threatening, but they've said, we're just gonna have to deal with it. We'll have to do the best we can possible, have a bit more directed bans, but also that first pick can be so huge because now BDS Academy, do they have to ban the Azir, right? Which we've seen both these teams heavily contesting. Yes, so it's taking away a ban from BDS and giving one to GameWard with this side swap.
Dusty's gone. It's BDS Academy again. I thought we flipped the script. I thought, you know what? We're just going to throw everything out the window and just try something different.
It would be fairly crazy to sub out
an entire roster.
An entire roster which has gone undefeated at the tournament and also is looking like tournament favorites right now.
Yeah, but are they going to Worlds? That's the question, I gotta question this thing. But we have now seen the Sejuani take off, so it looks like for the side of GameWard, they don't even want it themselves. They want a different matchup in that jungle.
Something interesting though is we often see BDS Academy would pick the Sejuani or the Poppy and ban Trundle. They haven't even been doing that, but GameWard have realized that Trundle isn't enough of an answer to these champions. Too much pressure is applied by them by Sheo. He's so good at playing for his team, and so as a result, they heavily banned out the jungle pool and now can prioritize first pick. Someone to note is a Lucian left open and available, and they'll take that.
But I think this is still leaving a problem on this top side of the map because one of the things that BDS Academy fell prey to within particularly the finals was that Ragnar on LDLC would just lock in the Sejuani and say, I'm going to nullify lane. And that is something which gave Adam a lot of problems. Now, if you're choosing not to pick that in, and you still don't have a lane nullifying pick in that top side, I don't think that problem is going to get any better for you. You've tried versatile bots, you tried volatile bots. It's not really worked out for you. You have to have another area of the map which is stabilized at the very least, so the map isn't going to fall apart.
And I love what we're seeing here from the side of BDS and saying, look, we don't... Yeah, I was going to say do it. But it's like, they don't care about the Lucian matchup. They're saying, look, we have faith in the Aphelios. Crownie has been exceptional on the pick throughout. And the thing I was just about to say was that when you first pick the Lucian, you means you leave open another pick to be taken away. The Vi is so easy now for them to pick up. And they talked about it on the pre-game today between Mata and Trouble. This thing is just insane in either of these junglers' hands, and BDS Academy got it.
Yeah, I mean, they were banning it this entire series, and now they have it. Good answer to Lucian. If he ever steps up trying to go aggressive, trying to pick, you have that point-and-click stun. And now the expectation is we're going to have the Nami come in. The question is, what will they take in the jungle?
Ooh.
Looks like the Wukong, they were hovering that Morgana. We have seen that counter pick. Kanavi has brought it out. We saw it originally in the LCK, though. Pyosic? How do you pronounce it? Pyosic. And I think Canyon have brought it out as well. But here, they will end up taking the Wukong into the Vi, which has been a pretty frequent matchup to split. And we end up getting the Lulu, which generally speaking does a decent job in a Lucian Nami at mitigating some of that burst.
So I want to go back to this Wukong, because this has been mysteriously absent from this series so far, and it was a huge pick in the quarterfinals. You saw LEOC Dusty. Effectively, whoever had the Wukong won that game. It gives you early power, gives you the ability to fight around stuff like the Herald with your big team fight ultimate. Now, maybe it gives you this kind of bridge from not just being an early game champion like the Lee Sin or something like that, but also giving you that power in the team fights, which GameWard have been lacking so far.
Well, we got the final few picks coming in. Next few bans going to be the next setup here. And this is the thing now for BDS Academy. This is what we were probably what GameWard were so afraid of now, is that you're now into the second round of rotation of bans and picks. You can ban away mid laners, first pick whichever one you want, and leave that counter pick for top.
Yeah, and I feel like for GameWard, yes, there are mid laners you'd love to ban against Reeker, but there is no way you're throwing mid lane bans here unless it's something super egregious. Top lane has been such a problem. They're taking away the Aatrox. Do they ban the Darius? Potentially could be something they don't want to deal with as well, especially as Adam having counter pick is so hard to match up into.
Yeah, I think particularly with that Darius, maybe you have to leave it up, I feel like, because at least you have the Nami tidal wave. You have some ways to zone out of the team fight. You've got the Lucian, which can play with the culling at range 2. It's a harder game in some ways for the Darius to play around, even though it has been played in this game, but still, Adam, I think the problem is now that he's always going to have another pick. In fact, I was speaking with SK Prime's coach a little bit, and he was just saying, like, man, he just always has another pick. It's super annoying to draft against. And now you just leave him to the last pick. What do you do here? I mean, yeah, you banned away some choice champions. He's going to have more.
Yeah, we see the Viktor come out, something we have seen banned against Reeker in second rotation a few times in the last game in particular. And now, I mean, I feel like you want to have power in the mid jungle for GameWard, so if you have a pick available for Czekolad that can give you that, that'd obviously be paying dividends. But it looks like for Melonik, they're just like, look, we need you to be as stable as possible. Darius is gone, Aatrox is gone. Can you handle with an Ornn pick?
Can you survive whatever might come into this one here? So Ornn locked and loaded for Melonik, which again, played the Akali in game 1, had a decent mid-game, very shaky in the early game, but just couldn't make it stick towards the later stages. Game number 2, picked up the Aatrox against the Darius of Adam, just couldn't have the same level of presence. Now he's on something that is just a big team fighter, something that can kind of move forward. However, with Adam having counter pick, there's plenty on the board here for him to go for. I do think they need a little bit more engaged on the side of BDS Academy, so we'll be looking towards maybe the more tankier versions of those top laners that we know and love.
Now, GameWard have picked an awful lot of range there. They have backline access, they have some disengage, they have ways to split the fight, but I'm still kind of worried because, yeah, you got a Corki, you got the Lucian. If I ever tags you, it's still going to be really rough, and GameWard have not quite had the early game proficiency to really shut out BDS from finding the right entrances into team fights as well, put them behind to the point where those engages are difficult to make. I look at Sheo on this Vi, and I think even though you have range, even though you have the ability to play through strong lanes like your bot side, I'm worried about those team fights yet again.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the fact as well that GameWard have 2 carries, right? You know, you have a tank at the top lane. Wukong can obviously do work with disruption, but like, if Vi ults either the Corki or the Lucian, takes them out the fight, it's down to the other to really carry through. And with things like the Polymorph that can shut down targets, with the Gnar who can be such a pertinent threat, I think it might be a struggle. And a big thing for me is you're playing this Lucian Nami. You obviously want to try and pull out ahead in terms of lane, get your one-item spike and take over the map. But you have a Corki and a Viktor. We've seen that matchup countless times in spring, and Corki has received nerfs since then, right? To some of his scaling with like the AP that he has on his ultimate. Viktor's going to have prior on that lane. Viktor's going to have pressure on that lane. I've seen time and time again where Viktor can even find kill opportunities, so you are not getting bailed out by your mid lane this game. It is all down to GameWard's bot lane to make this happen, and the jungler to help out.
Yeah, I think the big thing now is that this is it for GameWard. There are no best of 5s. This is now a best of 1 3 times in a row, basically, if you want to try and come out to this one, because you are 2-0 down. BDS Academy just stomping through the Amazon EU Masters Summer 2022, yet to see the Nexus explode all tournament. And now we jump onto the Rift, what could be the third and final time as GameWard need to have an explosive game to make them sure they don't drop here.
Yeah, and what a knockouts run it has been from BDS Academy so far. I mean, this was the team that dropped out of groups in spring. Couldn't even get through into that knockout stage. And there's an LFL team, you hold yourself to high standards. You have to. The prestige of this region is really unprecedented within the ERL scene. And for them, as this group of individuals as well, that all really want to prove themselves, redeem themselves, this is a heck of a way to do it.
All right, we're going to look at the junglers, because again, the Sheo and Akabane matchup has been pretty damn pivotal so far in this series, but Sheo actually going with a single pot and a ward first in his first kind of inventory. So he wants information off, he wants to know where his enemy is going to maybe either just counter or just straight up, have that information for the rest of his lanes.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you don't always need both fillable stacks. A lot of junglers, you should just be able to clear healthily enough, and the one pot will do the job, and then having that information can make all the difference. I feel like Sheo has done such a fantastic job of supporting his lanes when they've had advantages. And we get a repeat, right? Adam, with the Gnar into the Ornn, is going to have the pressure advantage in that top lane matchup. He's going to scale into a monster in the side lane. Reeker's going to have the advantage mid, and sure, there's windows for Lucian Nami to pressure at level 3, but level 1, level 2, Crownie and Erdote can apply pressure in return. Lulu, a pretty hard champion to deal with just with that picks damage on her autos.
And actually, when you have lanes in the 2v2 with the Lucian Nami where you are kind of losing at the level 1, level 2, you can just go towards the first strike. It means that you have less ability to really burst out at that level. But when it comes to mid-game, you have more ability to run people down in the mid lane, tag them with a W with the Gale Force, and chase them down with the Culling. So, see that GameWard likely going to have to buy into the 2-item spike of the Lucian a little bit more, because they're not going to find as easy inroads in the lane.
And like you said, getting the first strike builds you up towards the 2-item side, but you get the extra bit of cash. If you can proc it enough, it will get you closer to that 2 items, like you mentioned, a little bit quicker. And we have to kind of see where these junglers end up kind of focusing their efforts, because Akabane has been almost exclusively going bot side, whereas Sheo has been a bit more flexible. He's been a bit more willing to go with the flow of the game and to see what's the best for his team.
Well, that's when we return back to this control ward in inventory for Sheo. I actually feel like in this game, if Wukong falls behind, you have such a torrid time, because you have less ability to disengage than the rest of your team, and Wukong doesn't really have the choice of kind of running out here. Getting vision onto Akabane early, potentially putting him behind, is a very promising prospect from BDS Academy. If Akabane falls behind, that's a very difficult thing for GameWard to rectify. Yeah,
he's not going to get bailed up any of his lanes with how they've been going currently, so it does give Sheo free reign really to try and challenge. For now though, we'll be able to clear up his Raptors pretty comfortably, but bot lane is where we're starting to see the issue. Crownie and Erdote have built up that wave, harassing them quite heavily. There's already a 10 CS deficit, and shit, level 3 has been hit, but it's not started off well for Innaxe and kamilius.
And this is something which BDS Academy haven't typically done in summer. They haven't played early game through Crownie. He has been there as late game insurance. Now we started to see a little bit more. This team has started to evolve. Some of the things that we thought we knew about this team have been a little different, especially the way that Reeker's been playing. He's been going off of those roaming picks again, back onto the mages which he started summer with, to less success. BDS, they're starting to become a more complete package throughout this Amazon EU Masters run.
See if they can keep their complete package completely underturned, as we are going to have the bubble miss, sadly for them, as Innaxe just get polymorphed. They're going to flash in, not going to quite get the auto attack down. Innaxe just about stays alive, and first blood goes over to GameWard.
So close there, but Akabane coming in is enough to turn it in favor of GameWard. You see the upfront burst, disgusting, from Lucian Nami at level 3 with that combo, but the extended trade, that's where it starts to get a little bit messy, right? Lucian with no cooldowns isn't really offering much, but the jungler is there, the kill is secured, and the lane is in a bit of a better position than it was before.
So where have we seen this before? This bot lane getting a little bit far behind from BDS Academy, getting punished early. Now, of course, they did have that CS advantage, but what's typically happened after this point is that, yes, the jungle will go down bot side, but then the rest of the map starts just tearing up their laning phase, allowing Sheo to just be on the top side of the map. BDS Academy now waiting for that counterpunch to see where Sheo can strike first.
We have a look at the replay here as well, because again, it's good from Crownie from Innaxe to kind of bait Crownie in to kind of say, look, we know we can take this fight because we have our jungler in the wings.
Yeah, and I mean, it is close in the end. Crownie really trying to find that final kill, but
So close.
ends up getting baited in. But just a good job, good read from Akabane, and kind of a decent bait from Innaxe. Yes, it was close, but it ends up working out in favor. You really need to be starting getting momentum on that Lucian if you want to be driving forwards, because I think a big part of how this composition is going to play in the mid game is going to be around Innaxe leading the charge, looking for picks, looking for poke, and that's when Czekolad can start to come in with the Corki as well. Straight 5v5s, there may be some problems, but if you chunk out BDSA, they'll struggle to really deal with you.
But still, managed to stack up that wave. Akabane is now down here again, seeing this huge amount of minions starting to rack up. Lucian can clear through these pretty effectively with early levels of Piercing Light. You have a much better wave clear with your basic abilities than many other AD carries. So they can probably trim this wave, hold it in front of this tower. Now, Crownie and Erdote actually in a little bit of a difficult spot. Sheo's having to be called down to respond to it. Might be setting up for a 3v3 brawl.
Looking for it. There's still a big wave, so Innaxe won't want to be tanking that one up for too long. Erdote puts Sheo into the bot side, unseen for the moment. And again, like you said, just called in to make sure they can get this wave to crash. And I don't mind the play coming out from GameWard, but BDSA, they're kind of wise to the tricks right now. Again, they're 2-0 up. They don't need to take crazy risks into this bot lane. So they're kind of saying, look, we have a feeling your bot lane's here, so we're not going to try and overforce it.
And you've still got dominant top lane. Naz can be pushing in, potentially hitting that turret because you can't really stop the Gnar from doing that. Mid lane's at parity, and I think you're okay at that. At least Czekolad inside of game is finally kind of able to survive one of these laning phases. But BDS Academy, I think they're happy if nothing is really happening. I think it favors them in the rest of the map if you have to call down resources to bot lane like this.
Well, nothing happens. A lot of people down that bot side, but nothing ends up kind of coming to fruition for the moment. And BDSA, again, like I said, is happy to let this kind of laning phase continue because they have the winning matchups in both top and bot.
This is where things get a bit more interesting though in the bot lane, because now with a minute until the Herald, you start to think, okay, can we find prio? Can we find an angle where we can reset, move towards the Herald and start to set up for that? Or are we going to keep each other trapped in the lane and then leave it down to a 3v3 on the other side? One of the big changes that took Corki out of the meta is your initial package is at 10 minutes, not 8 minutes. So you don't have it available for that first Herald. So for GameWard, you're happy to kind of stall out the Herald until 10 minutes, whereas BDSA, if you want to get it without dealing with that big threat from the Corki, it's kind of this window you need.
And then also the respawn on packages, the other thing that was really affected, right? It's not every 5 minutes, every 6 minutes. You're not always going to get it for every dragon fight, especially if they're being taken on spawn. Big fight on the bot side.
Yeah, Erdote does take a huge chunk of health bar, but he trades it back up to Innaxe, who does blow the cleanse, and this is kind of coming down to, again, just having that laning phase come into you, as we can see Akabane now up towards this top side. Oh, they don't get the knock up, they get the flash away, but he's eventually going to be taken out. You would imagine Adam has nowhere to go. They give that one over to Melonik because he had got the Ignite from the Summoner Spellbook.
Yeah, find a beautiful route. You actually saw BDSA opening up, trying to look for this angle, this Herald getting scuttle, because Akabane managed to sneak in towards the top lane, punish Adam. It means they can't really go for that right now.
Oh, okay.
Well,
Victor's on both sides of the map. There we go.
Guess that just happened.
I mean, that is how Nami Lucian do. That is just why it's such a terrifying bot lane, why we've seen it consistently banned. It can just blow you up.
But this is a lot more what we've wanted to be seeing from GameWard for most of the series. We've wanted to see them put these lanes behind, get Akabane really onto the map in a way that he has defined his team's performance at this competition and in the LFL as well. And suddenly Adam has been punished for overshoving. Even though he has the dominant 1v1, he can be left in a lurch when he's been left in his own pushing on a little bit. So we've known from him even back in the LEC. And then Crownie just not safe in that 1v1. And it's actually too brutal.
Spoiler, he died after that, yeah.
No, he's just gone upstate to the
he's on the farm.
Crownie farm.
Yeah, the Crownie farm.
He recalled, went back
he's
to
an
base,
AD carry.
and
He
everything
loves farming. He loves farming. That's just how it works. But we're going to jump back into see that the Rift Heart was taken by BDSA, so they will have first push on that. I'm curious to see if Sheo will go towards the Chemtech Chainsword as his first item. We do see it as kind of a generic stats stick for them on the side of any real Vi player. Just gives you a very good setup for it, but this is going to be interesting now to see where BDSA kind of come back to this. For the first time, we're seeing GameWard come out the blocks very, very fast, very willing to kind of go for those plays. And honestly, for the first time, you know, since game 2, honestly, or game 1 first play, Akabane feels like he's back. Yeah,
and I feel like especially if BDSA have this Herald in pocket, want to get some momentum. Getting Fierce Dragon could be so big because, of course, we don't get to sync the packages as easy with the Dragon, but Dragon's become a much bigger concern later in the game. You know, if GameWard managed to get the first couple, it's so hard to start denying them when that package can be available. So I want to see BDSA look for a window to use the Herald, but also capitalize on the fact that your bot lane has, for the most part, had pressure and lean into that Dragon. We'd see Sheo doing that now.
But the thing about the Dragon, then also about stacking them later into the game, is actually BDS Academy have been very decisive when they wanted to find fights. They've not ended up half-hearting it much. They've found the right angles. And if you do that against a Corki, that does have the longer cooldown on the package now, you can catch GameWard sleeping, but Adam caught again.
I mean, caught sleeping is one way to put it. Adam just not given any space right now. He's going to try and get himself away from it, but he has got the hyper proc, so he knows with the fleet footwork he's going to be fine. But while this is all happening, BDSA are getting their objectives. They're getting towards that Dragon.
Guys, we said to Melonik he had to survive the top lane matchup,
He's
right?
thriving.
He's absolutely doing fantastic right now. Adam really being caught off guard by that knock-up, and obviously just survived, just managed to back away, but Melonik doing far better this game than he has this series.
I am really surprised that Czekolad has picked up that package now, because, yeah, I know you want to use it at some point, but this is 5 minutes till the next Dragon. It's not going to be up for the next Herald, and what we were just talking about in terms of the timing of these packages are very important. You need to make a power play now. If BDS Academy have been the decisive team in this semi-final, GameWard need to find some now.
Yeah, they need to go for it. They're going to try and jump on the Crownie. He's got a huge shield on top of him, but with the tidal wave coming in, the wild growth is not enough, and that's going to be Innaxe picking himself up another one. Czekolad looking to try and put the icing on the cake. And Czekolad will try and just kind of keep this wave here. They haven't crashed it just yet, and they have got Sheo coming in, so you got to be very careful. He doesn't quite get the knockback where he wanted it to. He's trying to use it again. Erdote survives. Czekolad flashes. One more auto attack, but the Lulu strikes back.
Now with the package, yes, you got to be decisive. That's something else, though. It goes in, trades to the 1-for-1. Sure, more gold for Corki, I guess.
You have to type in all chat and just say wait. Wait, right? There's nothing else you can say in that situation. And actually, kamilius was even tanking the tower for him. Otherwise, Czekolad would have just immediately pretty much died. But yeah, not the most optimal package play we've seen, I will definitely say, but something now.
Akabane. Okay, gets the Chaos Storm out of Reeker. Reeker on this Viktor with a first strike is pretty big.
Yeah, he's pretty strong, but someone who really is starting to thrive is Innaxe and kamilius, right? Mandate complete for the Nami, Gale Force for the Lucian. This is where you get into like true one-shot territory, so Crownie has to be pretty careful here because he might be getting collapsed on. Or
Sheo's hit, though.
It's the other way around.
It is the other way around. They're going to be able to turn onto him, though. The culling is fantastic, and they might be able to turn this back one onto the Vi. See Sheo just using the Lulu to get himself back, but this is the power of the Lucian.
So there you go. We did say, oh, you know, kind of hard at level 1, level 2, but the mid-game's going to be really cool. Well, turns out mid-games happen at about 12 minutes and 30 seconds. They've absolutely slammed Crownie into the dirt.
Well, they're going to see Reeker. Doesn't have the Chaos Storm just yet, but now Sheo in this mid lane. They're not quite able to take out Akabane just yet, but yeah, you're nowhere for you to go, and Adam will eat you up. Oh, Nami. Should not be able to survive from that. As I say that, there is a blast cone, so nope, never mind to keep himself safe, but now we're going to have him engage in the mid lane. Melonik trying to get on top of Reeker, who flashes away. GameWard not to be outdone, but despite the kill lead, they're only 500 gold ahead, and you can see that they're trying so very hard, Nightmare, but it's just not giving them far enough.
No, and I kind of get that you want to be playing around your point of power right now, but when you don't have your Lucian at the fight, what are you going to do? Because this is what happens when the Lucian is at the fight. This stuff happens. People start just evaporating.
Yeah, doing quite a bit of damage, I think it's safe to say, at this point, and just a bit of an overstep on this side of the map from the Wukong, but I mean, fair play is the fact that despite how badly this kind of went for GameWard, because BDSA committed so many resources to the top side, they actually ended up not being able to capitalize on the Herald, so sure, we do see the Wukong go down, but no Herald charge. It's
cunning plan.
All planned, all thought out ahead, and ultimately, I think GameWard pretty happy with that passage of play.
That's a good point, actually. You know, Herald not even going to be able to take down that mid lane outer turret to the point where actually one wave would end up being enough to kill that tower with some champions nearby. And when you have two very high wavelet compositions between the mid laners and the AD carries, that becomes relevant. Particularly second Herald becomes this mid lane killing thing.
It's a zoning ult.
Yeah, he just wanted to try and get it, but then he didn't want to go fully into it.
I believe Shox calls that one the dulling.
The dolly. I like that, actually. That's
like
really
that
good.
It's that one and the Super Mega Meth Rocket are my favorites.
Well, what's no laughing matter is Reeker actually turning around this fight in the mid lane. Akabane thought he might have been able to get something going with the Cyclone, but again, very difficult to make this one stick. Adam getting to be able to kind of harass Melonik, and Adam's just having a field day right now. Apart from that one gank on top side, he's just having a fine time to keep the Ornn in the lane.
And this is what is going to eventually happen is there'll come a point where Adam will be such a pertinent threat in the side lane, Ornn won't be able to handle him easily and will just be kind of like, okay, I'm going to wave clear, but please can we start a fight now? Otherwise I'm just going to start losing structures.
Yeah, and that's going to be something which I'm looking at in terms of how BDS Academy look to start fights on their own. They can win through side lanes, obviously. I think when you have the ability for Gnar to do pretty well in both of these side lane matchups, even. I think that Corki can struggle at some points, ends up wave clearing. But if Corki is called to a side lane, that's a big enough problem in its own right. But one thing that we were talking about right from draft is, okay, you got the range, you got damage, but there are ways onto your carries, and though you have some disengage, if I ever find the right target, things get very, very rough. And I don't think I've seen enough from GameWard right now to say that their carries are going to be safe in the fights when we start erupting in the next kind of couple of item spikes.
And the big thing I'm looking at right now is that, yes, GameWard are getting the Rift Arrow, but you now down 2 dragons against BDSA. So BDSA are the ones getting the first turret. They're also the ones getting the pressure in the mid lane and the top side. So this is GameWard kind of saying, look, what can you use this Herald for?
Yeah, and what dragons to get as well, right? At Mountain and Infernal, the percentage armor and the percentage MR and also percentage aggressive stats as well means BDSA should be in a pretty comfortable spot. And now GameWard are looking towards this top side to try and make something happen, but even if they get this tower, I still feel like BDSA pretty happy with how this sort of early game has panned out so far.
So you see that Innaxe is now being kind of moved around the map as a wrecking ball, and he kind of needs to be, right? Because anywhere where Adam is, you are losing HP on structures. Maybe the Lucian Nami can still hold that to account. Czekolad, you do not have safe information for this.
No, he does not. He's going to try and get over the wall and use the stopwatch, but you can see they actually try to get Crownie in there with the Gale Force. They did not realize the literal rest of GameWard were up on this top side. You can see that Sheo using that mobility on the fight to get himself up. But look at the bot side. Look at Reeker. He's PvE. He's just constantly pushing in the bot side saying, look, I'm going to call your bluff because I don't think you're going to get more than just one tower.
He's putting time pressure on them, so now they're looking towards this mid lane tower, but the ult comes down from Crownie. They'll get the tower, but they won't get anything more from it. And ultimately, again, BDSA, like I saw Sheo get collapsed on by 5 members. I thought he was gone, manages to make it out.
I mean, getting that mid lane out of turret is still relevant, particularly when you have, again, these compositions with lots of wave clear to be parked in the mid lane.
Czekolad uses the package, gets the Chaos Storm out, but I gotta call it out because Czekolad has not been exceptional with these massive power spikes and really finds himself in a bad situation now. Adam lands a spaceship right into him. They are thematically the same. And at the end of the day, a big old space monster's gonna win.
Look, I'm gonna be real, it is more difficult to sync up your package with dragons. That is no excuse for this, right? There should be at least some semblance of we're trying to make sure we have a package for a dragon at some point in the game.
Yeah, especially that first dragon, I was like, the first package rather, I'm like, hang on, what are you doing this for? Seen a second one now, and like, Corki at the start of the year was fairly easy to play around. There was a great interview with Yamato Cannon on Fnatic back in spring, and I was like, yeah, it just makes these timings easy to play around. The whole team knows what's going to happen. It's less easy than that nowadays.
Akabane
is just, getting a chance.
He's going to try it though, but you still have Innaxe and you still have kamilius in here to get the wild growth down. The tidal wave is good, but all the way back down. Shut down. Sheo gets himself a kill. Akabane now ignited, slowed in, flashes away. They're trying to just fully retreat here as Melonik
tower shot.
Not quite able to get himself and his jungler out. He might be able to continue his own retreat, but this is all starting to unravel so quickly right now because top, we're having a bit of a 1v1. It's a flash in. It's an Adam! Are you joking me right now, you little yordle man?
Man manages to get the kill, and you see Czekolad trying to answer, but at the end of the day, you're not doing that much damage on the Corki with your autos. Both of them flashing to try and find the outplay, but Adam comes out ahead. BDSA coming out far ahead in this game.
Oh, Czekolad has had such a rough game so far. Really struggled to land the early playmaking tools. Now in the side lane being exploited by Adam once again. Adam in the side lane on an individual 1v1 matchup, which he's running away with.
And look, we've had a recurring theme. Once again, Innaxe!
Innaxe, he's taking so much damage, and there is no respite in your own jungle. Without those 2 towers, you don't have vision control.
I think we've all seen what a Viktor can do to a Lucian. There is a very famous play where we all remember, and I mean, Reeker just absolutely annihilates him, but now you're starting to lose pressure, right? Innaxe falling down, your point of power struggling, mid tower going down, and I'm gonna reveal once again, they've set Crownie very far behind 0-4. It just doesn't seem to matter. BDSA have regained control of this game.
You're trying to say that, like, you know, GameWard are losing pressure. They're losing the game. This game is unraveling before our eyes.
They're losing
right
the
now.
series.
Yeah, they're also losing the series as we go right the way back, because this GameWard just try and overforce this right now. So Innaxe and kamilius hard force it, but again, you have a Lulu. It's so difficult to get that damage to stick.
Yeah, I think at the start of that play, you could see a little bit of what we were worried about in terms of actually Wukong can struggle on the engage. You don't have the non-committal nature of the Ornn ultimate or the culling, which can play at range. And Akabane is effectively not able to affect this play after the start of that. Lucian has to do some heavy lifting, and then, of course, left in a side lane, Gnar is very happy to take this. And
just auto attacks. He's just bigger.
Yeah.
Oh, so nicely done.
If Adam flashes to dodge a rocket, oh.
No, we're going to have to stop you right there because Akabane's been found. He has not been killed just yet. Never mind, he's going to be killed just now. Never mind, he goes in. They get a nice big ultimate there from Melonik and a good bubble that stops the Gnar from getting at anything. A bit of a turnaround right there. Czekolad trying to move forward, but you do not have a lot more in the tank. You got to be so careful here. GameWard, they smell it. This is their one opportunity.
I feel like that play only makes sense if GameWard have Erdote. I don't get how this Wukong survived, but they're looking for more.
They're looking for more. Melonik refuses to go quietly out of this game, out of this series, and he is trying to drag his kicking and screaming team by the scruff to a victory. They back away, everyone away from this dragon, but now you can see Sheo. He's trying to see if he can maybe work something here onto the Corki. Czekolad just playing bouncer, and GameWard survive. GameWard not out of this just yet.
They managed to just about outmuscle BDS Academy out of their own bot side jungle. And at the start of this, again, I was wondering, like, okay, it's another difficult Wukong moment. This is kind of awkward, but just about gets away with it. Miraculously, I think you're right, yeah, Orcs. Actually, yeah, if you have something like a Renata, you can buy enough space, you can get those resets. The Nami tidal wave does a pretty okay job in its stead, though, by just enough time.
I'm amazed he actually managed to live that. Like, they all went the wrong way, but, like, I was so certain he was dead. I was like, yeah, this is just a free pick, but the answer comes in, and then Melonik, again, Reeker, this is the thing with the Victors, flashless. You get caught by CC and you're gonna get punished.
And again, it's still an Ornn. This is what we talked about in draft. You're on Ornn duty, but at the same time, you're still powerful.
He's on Ornn duty.
Yeah, it's not you're on Ornn duty. You're on Ornn duty. You have the privilege of it. And it does feel like right now, like a couple of comedy of errors, I think, for BDSA in that last passage of play. Adam didn't land the ultimate. That didn't really do anything at all. The perfect corridor for a tidal wave and an Ornn horn to hit everyone on the backside as well. So little things like that have to go their way. You just get 2 kills on a dragon, it's still an uphill battle.
Yeah, it's still going to be fairly difficult for GameWard. You've now got a Hullbreaker second on the Gnar, so Adam's happy to sit in the side lane and has already been winning those side lanes. At this point, you're going to be in real danger of Adam taking 1v2s, which he potentially might find himself in on the spot side. A lot of members from GameWard able to respond towards it, but BDS Academy more than happy to rely on Adam to do the heavy lifting for them when the game gets tough.
I think a big point that we can hone in on, because, you know, we talked about the Lucian being a pretty significant spike at this point in the game. The Corki level...
Should be fine.
Level 16 for Corki is such a massive spike because the AD ratio on your rockets goes up. At 16, it goes to 75% on a small one, 150% on a big one.
They're going to force the tidal wave out, so now they have to concede at GameWard. They really didn't want to have to use that big key ultimate. You know how powerful it can be in a team fight, and they've already wasted it just to try and keep Czekolad alive. So Czekolad not having the best of series right now. Crownie goes in onto Innaxe, who's forced to cleanse after using the Gale Force defensively, but we're going to have the Vine going in straight away. The Chaos Storm is good. The Moonlight Vigil goes completely whiffing as Reeker now left all on its own. So Melonik is TP'd in, and he wants a little bit more of this fight. They're going to get Sheo, and yes, you're losing on bot side, but your Gnar isn't there. You can turn for Baron.
And this time it's the Viktor flashing in and dying. Thinks they have the burst, think they've got the ultimate, but they overestimate. The disengage does come in even without the tidal wave. GameWard, they take the fight that's presented to them. They're going to walk away with the Baron. They're losing in this bot lane on the side lane, though. Adam doing work.
Oh, TP. Where's that to?
They're going for the fight here.
There's very low health bars right now, and you've just used all your ultimates, so Adam is huge, and Adam does have flash should he find an opportunity. He's going to try and 1v5 this right now, and he finds the back line. Adam shall not be denied. Adam will make sure BDSA do not lose a game at the Amazon EU Masters.
And just when GameWard think they have found their route back into the series, they set up on the Baron. Adam comes in clutch, slams him into the wall, and delivers the Baron on a plate to his team.
This guy, this top laner, gets a pentakill in the group stage. Insane laning stats, insane damage per minute. And after this series, after the quarterfinals, you really got to start asking these questions. Is this guy the tournament MVP? He has taken this entire team onto his back at the end of that play.
And this is a great fight from GameWard. It's exactly what they need. It's an overextension. You don't have the Gnar here. But they just take too much because they're just that bit far behind that by the time they get to the Baron, you can see already their health bars, they're just not there, Ox.
Yeah, and I mean, the fact that he TP's in with the Mega Gnar as well. Melonik tries to play Bruce, but look, they stop hitting the Baron because they don't want to be in the pit. But the flash from Adam connecting onto that bot lane, both of them caught in. Just beautiful play, but beautiful game sense to read that you can make this happen for your team.
It's just perfect timing, right? Because you can understand that, oh, maybe you don't teleport in because you just accept that you've lost the fight. But to say, actually, no, Baron's not going down. We've got a chance to play this out. And having the time to make that big play, it's a very heads-up play. It's very intelligent play. BDS Academy, they are looking very, very sharp in this game.
I mean, Adam has just been a tier of his own. I know there's all this talk about top fives in different tournaments in different regions, but in this tournament, it's just Adam and the rest. There's, you know, it just doesn't feel like anyone else has really come close to the guy in the top side. And it just, right now, you need something here. You need something to work for you right now, but with a Lucian, a Lulu, there's so little you can do to make this damage stick, and you have to be putting yourself in harm's way.
And you start to see Innaxe is falling off the curve, right? Before able to one-shot people, burst them out. Now, you know, Erdote, lowest level in the game, one of the squishiest champions, isn't really able to do much still. You can see a lot of rocket damage from Czekolad, but you have to be so cautious. You overstep once, that buy is coming for you, and Sheo with 3k HP does not care if there's towers in the way. He will take you down.
Get the bot lane tier 3. And leave the inhibitor there. They're going to back themselves up. Dragon is available. Put themselves on the soul point right now.
Adam is 3 levels above Melonik, by the way. He's level 17. Innaxe, who was obviously pretty fed earlier, is level 12. That is such a disparity.
I was going to say, like, yes, he's 3 levels ahead of Melonik. That is correct. He's 3 levels ahead of everybody who could even come close to him. No one else is even there past level 14. So Adam is his own force of nature.
And also, particularly for Gnar, a lot of people don't know this, because I didn't know this until, like, someone said this on Twitter a couple of months ago. Gnar actually scales the basic attack range with level. Now you're up here at level 17, you're actually a pretty long-range character, and with Hullbreaker, with the Wit's End, the ability to chase down, get those additional autos, it can really take you by surprise. And when they get to split the map like this as well, threaten across the map, whenever a fight starts, you have to ask yourself, what is Adam getting done on the map?
And I love what Sheo's doing right now. He's just roaming around trying to find someone to hurt because he's got a Warmog. So even if he just has to get out, and then he's able to heal up again. Oh, Erdote does not have that same luxury, so he still needs to be very careful.
I feel like one of the things with the Gnar as well, when you're ahead, and this is one of the issues with the durability change, is that Gnar became so bulky, you have the percentage HP on your W, but still, you just do so much damage. Even if Adam isn't in Mega, if he just runs at Innaxe, he will solo him. He will just beat him in the 1v1. He is that strong right now, so obviously a big cause for concern.
They actually just gave the Grom to Erdote to give him the heal so he can stay out on the map. I have never seen anyone give a Grom to a support to do that before.
Play right there.
That's
that
great.
is team play. But look, Adam, Czekolad, what are you going to do?
Good luck with this.
Round 2, he's going to try and get a 1v1, but you're not going to be able to survive. Gets the GA. Adam wins that round, regardless of Melonik coming into it or not. Now they've used the exhaust from Melonik as well. Reeker's killed off Akabane on the top side of the map, as the rest of BDS are just taking over the game. Flash forward from Reeker as he wants to kill off Innaxe, who cleanses, who flashes. But Adam is behind you like the monster under your bed. He gets you when you least expect it.
Finds the kill again with the aggression. We've seen Reeker on this Viktor, this mage you expect to be playing the backline, going so aggressive, and it is paying dividends. They're leaning towards the top side to try and see if they can find some more, but I think they will back. Oh, actually, TP coming in. They're going for more right now.
Look at the map. Look at the map. The Vi is chasing the Nami.
As well. Reeker's going to TP in as well.
The Nami's not here. You don't have kamilius to be able to help out your team, to dissuade anyone from going in, to heal up your players. So BDSA are saying, cool, you're not even just one man down, you're several men down.
kamilius just assist pinged.
Yeah. Well, he's dead, and he knows he's dead. They're just keeping him here. 1, 2, doesn't even throw the punch. That's how powerful it was. The thought of it was enough.
I just want to say we don't condone bullying on the E-Masters stream.
But what style BDS are closing out this game, closing out this series. It was a redemption arc in the quarters. They're carrying it forward to Chapter 2 in the semis, potentially bringing it through to another chapter to close it.
I mean, this is it. You've got the package. You've got an opportunity. Reeker with no flash, but no really way for Innaxe to get on top of this. Adam flashes forward and says, like you guys were mentioning, I'm mini, but I'm still absolutely huge. He's trying to move up towards Mega before he can get on top of Akabane, who can't really run away. He has to flash back onto his own fountain. And Adam versus the world, 1v4, and he might still be able to get out alive. He's going to be very close to going down, but the Lulu helps him out because Adam does not care. Adam does not mind. Neither does Sheo as he goes on top of the fountain. BDSA remain undefeated in the Amazon EU Masters Summer 2022.
And I'm going to be real, they beat them game 1, they beat them game 2, but game 3 they styled on them.
It was rough for GameWard. Like, there was 1 or 2 opportunities. You're like, oh, maybe the Lucian Nami could do it. But then once the Adam outplay and topside happened, I was like, there's nothing for you to do. This Adam has gotten too big. This Gnar is now a problem, and you have no solutions.
And what a journey BDS Academy have been on since spring. Knocked out in groups from the Amazon EU Masters back then. Now they're coming back, and they are crushing this tournament. I would call them my tournament favorites at this point. They're on a redemption arc. For
they
their
are in
players,
the finals.
For the team, and they're into the finals now to try and cap off this whole redemption arc. They're really trying to put this to bed and reclaim this narrative around them.
I mean, it is just an incredible run from them right now, and I think it just comes from the fact that they are playing as a unit. We've seen so many times where they were giving over wards, they were giving over experience, they were giving over utilities over to everyone on the team. It didn't matter what carry you were.
I feel like what's been frustrating is that it feels like GameWard aren't just sitting back and letting this happen. They're trying to find plays, they're trying to find places around the map to play for, they're getting advantages, they're starting stuff off, and it just never feels like enough. It must be such a frustrating loss, but I mean, BDSA were just fantastic.
I mean, they really, really are, and BDSA is our first finalist. Stay tuned for the post-show and check out the Warner Song of the Day, Try by Masio and Bibian Z.
I love you, but you only turn your back on me. Oh, and then you would love me, but I was over you. At least I thought. Oh, we just spent too many times discussing what's wrong, what's right, what's right. Then we'd always miss the chance, giving it a try. fight what's right. That we'd always miss the chance, giving it a try, I don't want someone else by my side. Want someone else by my side.
Welcome to our post show at the Amazon European Masters. BDS Academy seems just absolutely unbeatable. They are 12-0 in this tournament right now, and they are our first finalist. Will they just win the title without dropping a single game? I mean, I asked this question last split, and we all know how that went, Trouble.
Yeah, I know. Going all the way to the finals undefeated doesn't seem to pan out very well. LDOC will definitely vouch for that. But what we saw right there in this particular replay was daylight robbery. GameWard start the Baron. They don't have the resources, they don't have the mana, they don't have the HP bars, and they get pretty much the game that they fought to get to this point completely taken away.
It's plain and simple, that fight was a heist, and Adam got away with the biggest cut from the entire gang.
I mean, sources told me GameWard was playing without screens on. I mean, that's that's what I've been told.
Wow.
No, but this series of 3-0, I think everything we expect from every single series, from quarters up to now, it always goes like the complete opposite, it seems.
I feel like especially when it comes to something like semifinals at EU Masters, you're expecting that the teams are extremely evenly matched. Yet, that was the second seed of the LFL versus the fourth seed of the LFL, and that was for a reason. BDS Academy and LDOC seem to be on a completely different trajectory. And if we look at the PGB here as well, the team on the left is supposed to be the one scaling, and look what this Viktor was able to do, shove it in wave after wave, the poke that this champion does, and the fact that it's really sad because GameWard finally had a plan, right? They kept playing through the bot side of the map and they're like, screw the top side, put them on two scalers, we have the ornaments for later on, we'll play through Lucian Nami. Lucian Nami fell behind. It was the first time their bot lane fell behind. And also the fact that you pick blue side, but you let the Vice slip off of your hands.
That's the biggest thing to me.
I'm
It's
obsessed.
just the fact that they let the fight go after trying to fight for
Big
it
upset
the
too.
entire series.
I mean, let's hold our thoughts, because if you mention bot lane, we also have to mention our guest. Because let's get to our interview with the winning bot lane, who already won European Masters once and will now again play in the final. Crownie, how are you doing, man?
I mean, I'm doing good. I mean, I think I'm a bit disappointed with my play like the last game, because it was a bit too disrespectful. Because I was in a very good spot on bot. I think it was like 26 to 12 CS. I was one potion up, and I played a bit too aggressive, and then I gave them a bit too many openings, because we knew like before today, if we just play like we're supposed to, we should be able to win all the games. So I think today, overall, we were dropping a bit too many kills, and the last game, obviously, it's like mostly me. So I'm not really happy with that, but overall, we are in finals, so still stuff to be happy about, of course.
I mean, sometimes a little bit of dopamine gaming can be okay, so it's fine.
Yeah, it's true. It's like if I do my combo correctly, I trade 1 for 1. It's okay, But all jokes aside, like they were checkmated on bot, right? Like, and if I manage to force Wukong to show without losing something, like the first game, if you remember when they map split, he was like constantly being spotted on vision. Well, we are not losing anything, and they are. It's obviously very good, but obviously it was a bit too aggressive. And also, like the first game, I think we took stuff for granted a bit. Like on bot lane, we just assumed they base when they were like going around and cheesing, and like they like to fish a lot for kills, which we knew, but we didn't like adapt to it, I guess, in game. Obviously, we're the better team and better individually, so we can still win. But I need to play better if we want to win finals. So yeah.
Of course, coming as the second seed, LDLC you might be waiting, actually, for LDLC in the finals for a remake of the LFL finals, if you will. Now, what was the main takeaway from this particular series versus GameWard?
I mean, as I said, I think we're just a bit too disrespectful. Like even this last game, like we went for fights where like Gnar is split pushing, we could just play slower and like just choke them out slowly, but we tried to go for like outplays. Even like the first or second game, we're like trying to outplay 2v3, 2v4, 2v like I don't know, 3v4, like always with man disadvantage while we're getting something on the other side of the map. And I'm sure if we're playing a better team, would be like more disciplined. But I would say that's the main takeaway. And other than that, yeah, it's just a bit. Other stuff is pretty standard. I think we are very confident that if we don't like fall behind heavily, we should pretty much win every game if we don't fall behind early.
So I heard you talking about Akabane, about his jungle performance, but I think it's even more worth mentioning your own jungle performance, because Sheo, he had an insane series, but also in the quarterfinals, that man is unstoppable, it seems.
Yeah, I mean, I think all of my teammates' levels right now are very, very high. Obviously, it took us some time. Like we made a support change in the middle of the split, and then had to like pretty much rebuild synergy that was there in spring, like with Sheo and Erdote, and then we just started winning more and more. And I think the final against LDLC, the loss was a bit of a bad day and a bit of a bad meta read, I would say. I think we had the wrong priority on some champions, bot lane specifically.
Yeah.
Like we were like tunneling too much on stuff like Rakan when like range supports were already very strong in the meta. But and I think we just had a bad day overall. Like I think it could have easily went to 5 games if I didn't fuck up, if I didn't mess up the 4th game. Sorry, if I didn't mess up the 4th game like on top, because we managed to make a comeback. But I think generally, I would say we are leveling up pretty much every week. Even Screams, the team that gave us the most problems by far was UOL, and they're out. I mean, we didn't really Scream ADC much, but we know them very well because we've played them the whole year. So I think if we just respect every opponent and play as a team, I would say this title should be ours. I think everyone is eager to prove that they deserve to play, in higher leagues, yeah.
But very short though, still about Sheo, because Sheo seems to be,
sure.
I see a lot of Vi, I see a lot of Wukong, but Sheo just seems to be playing the tanks, playing the facilitator.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's good we showed that we can play Sejuani as well, right? So teams need to worry, because I would say that the Sheo and the Adam top side with Sejuani and the Bruiser top is pretty scary for everyone to play against, right? So I think it's a very, very good thing, yeah, that we play champions like that as well. I think it kind of came into the meta, like it started being played in the Asian regions first, like they started flexing Sejuani a ton.
Yeah.
Before that, it wasn't really in jungle yet, but yeah, it's good that we added it, because the more champions enemy needs to worry about, the better for your draft, right? So
yeah. So now let's talk about the series again. First of all, let's talk about the ONE+ MVP. Jamana,
Drum roll.
Surprise, surprise.
Drum roll.
Crownie, who do you think it is, brother?
It's this random top laner from France.
Yeah, see, he just knows. He just knows it's Adam.
Yes.
I mean, thoughts on how he played throughout the series, right? I think your last matchup in quarters, I feel like he kind of completed a heist like he did at the Baron fight to round out your series here.
Yeah.
This time around, it feels like it was probably a little more earned. A couple words on Adam.
I mean, I would say like since he obviously has like a huge number of fans, so he gets like pretty much every MVP, and I would say like 80-90% of them are deserved, you know. But I think today he played very well. I think all of my teammates played well, but I guess you would give it to like Adam or Sheo. But he had like, you know, when a player has like a super flashy play, it's just guaranteed that they're getting MVP. You know what I mean? Like when he stopped that Nashor, you know, like obviously like he would get it, but in the eyes of fans, I mean. But obviously he's like an insane player. I think from all my teams, like I've never seen someone dominate like the opposition this much, right? Obviously, I would say he's showing that he's like above this level, right? Like I think even Shigenda, who I personally thought was like one of the best top laners besides him, he couldn't, like he was getting outplayed by Adam as well. So obviously his level is very insane. And as I said, I think we're all at a very good level. Scrims are going well, and we feel like we understand the meta very well currently. So I would say like by far the biggest enemy we have this EU Masters is like ourselves and how we play. If we play too cocky, if we play too disrespectful, if we don't play as a team, if we are like lazy, I would say that's like by far the biggest issue. And I would say like that was also like against LDC it showed a bit, but I think for example this last game like I was just inting low-key. Obviously not on purpose, I was just too cocky. And
You
then,
were feeling it.
and
You were
then-
feeling it this
bullied
time.
as well, I gotta
Okay,
say.
and then, yeah, like the second death, I just said, okay, I can V2 because I have red, white, but I should ult first to heal. But I like did Q first, and then I could not ult, and I just got bursted down by Lucian Nami. But I think if I actually ult and I double hit both, maybe I can outplay. But obviously, it's like very disgusting to play this way when my whole team is winning.
There's
You
one
know,
solution:
like-
more solo queue games.
Yeah,
don't
I
say
mean,
that.
obviously,
Don't
like,
tell him to play
yeah, no,
solo
like,
queue more. Come on.
yeah, obviously it's not correct to play like this. It's a bit disrespectful to my team to go for these outplays. I mean, especially when we know if we play controlled, we'll win, right? It just shows a bit of like lack of discipline from me this game, I would say. But I would say the other two games, I was playing well. I think
I mean,
they
you
had very
have
clear plans, like early game.
another
sir?
series coming up to show that. So I mean, relax.
Yeah,
you
of
have,
course.
You have the dub now.
Yeah,
Focus on
of course,
Sunday.
of course.
Trouble. There's something you still wanted to mention?
Yes, Sheo got robbed again. Like, please, man. This guy was a madman in his quarterfinal series. This guy was a madman in the semifinals. He's died 3 times while engaging and playing in everyone's face with Sejuani's, with Vice. He smashed quarterfinals as well. Like, please, people, this guy is LEC speedrunning any percentage right now. And it actually blows my mind because I remember SK found the guy in the winter split, last split. And after that, he just skyrocketed. He went over to BDS and he started playing like an absolute madman that he is. It's honestly really refreshing and really good to see rookies like this, and especially coming from the LFL where it's so freaking competitive. You make one mistake, you fall behind. Having a rookie like that come into a team and just mold into it so freaking well is just very refreshing to see.
And you know, it might happen again on Sunday, Jamada. If we take a look at the bracket, it might happen that we have a full LFL final, but my hopes are up for Heretics, I need to say, Jamada.
Yeah, you know, after their URL victory, it kind of does feel that the hope for the Spanish is back, you know?
For the entirety of Europe.
Okay, I'm not fully convinced.
Okay.
I've been infected by Noah's very, you know, super pessimistic view.
At least he didn't suplex you.
I didn't get suplexed at the telestrator at least. But yeah, I feel like now that unicorns are gone, and not only that, I mean, Crownie said it word for word just now, felt like they were the only team that really gave them trouble throughout the split, perhaps behind the scenes. And maybe Heretics are above that level, but I think they haven't necessarily shown us per se that they have been. I feel like that series could have gone either way, and it's more about them actually proving themselves against LDLC now, in my opinion, as opposed to actually UOL.
So what are your thoughts, Crownie, on that semifinal of tomorrow?
I mean, personally, we had absolutely zero issue with Heretics the whole split. And like my brain would say that the LDLC should win. I think they are the better team, but this EU Masters, like a lot of unexpected things happen this year. Like I don't think people expected Dusty
That's
to
one
take
way
like
to put it, yeah.
to take 2 games of LDLC, and they didn't. I think everyone expected UL to win. I mean, at least from scrims, right? Obviously, it's a different game, but generally, I would expect LDLC to win. But I think it also depends on the day, because it can just happen that like some people are having like a bad day, and you have like a wrong meta read on the day, and the enemy just has like something very interesting prepared. So I think it will be interesting to see. I think it will not end in 3 games. I'm sure like both teams will take games of each other. I would generally predict LDLC to win, just because like they've been to a lot of finals, they've played a lot of series together, like this whole year they've played finals, EU Masters finals, like so
Yeah.
I think the experience will help them, and I think they should take it like I would say 3-1 maybe. That would be my prediction.
Is it going to be? I mean,
Another LFL final copium.
I mean, so where
Yep.
I wanted to go, Crownie, obviously you're the AD carry expert. You know, I've seen Exekick
Yes.
play, I've seen Jack Spectre play against UOL. How is that bot lane matchup going to work out? Do you have any idea of that?
I mean, for now it seems like Heretics really like to just invest everything into bot lane. They like to gank, they like to roam, they give waves to be on bot, and they play like matchups like that. And I think LDLC has played more around top recently, but so it will be like an interesting clash of styles, because also the ADCs have the same champion pool. They both like to play Aphelios, they both play Draven, you know, Kalista, stuff like this. So it will actually be very interesting to see, like, because maybe blue side will be more important, because you can choose which ADC you first pick. Maybe red side will just trade and not care, you know. So I think it will depend, but I would say Heretics will probably just fully play for bot. I think that's how they play the whole split.
I think it's...
And I think
Yeah, I want to say,
Yes,
I think it's good you start
go on,
talking
go on.
about those sides, because LDC chose red side.
Oh, I
Oh,
really
really?
like this actually.
Okay.
Having Ragnar top lane, you want that red side, right? Getting the
Yeah.
counter pick.
I think it says a lot, because to me...
I mean, I think... Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
go
it's
on,
fine.
go.
To me, it says they're probably thinking that they can handle bot lane, and they're willing to just give Ragnar the counter pick.
Yeah.
To play, kind of in a similar way to how, when we were speaking with Reeker from your quarterfinals, you guys had pretty much full confidence in Adam to deal with Sagenda, and you're just going to play through bot. I kind of get the same feel off of picking red side in this series here for LDLC.
Yeah, I mean, and what red side shows, as I said, is like generally if you go red side, you are fine with trading, because for example, right now in the meta, there's like quite a big amount of bot lane bans. So if you go red side, it shows that you probably like don't care if enemy can choose which one they pick, right? Like, for example, you can trade Kalista Draven, you can play Sivir into Aphelios, you can play like Aphelios into Lucian. So I guess that it just shows confidence from LDLC that their bot lane will be able to handle being played around by the enemy, and they will probably just invest into Ragnar, because I think Ragnar and Yike have been like playing a lot together this whole tournament, like 2v2, Sejuani, all of these champs. And they've showed that obviously like they're very strong. So I understand the strategy from LDLC.
Just hearing him talk about these two teams makes me want to watch tomorrow.
I'm very
Yeah, I
lucky,
mean, I
guess.
think it will actually be very, very interesting, I would say.
It's going to be a good
I
series.
think it will be very interesting. Yeah, I would say so.
So who are you going to give the upper hand to? I'm going to start with you, Trouble. Who do you think... I mean, Crownie obviously is very LFL biased, so he said LDLC.
He's going to shill his own legal ways.
I mean, I'm not biased. I just I think it's time for us to take revenge in finals and win. You know, that's
also
see,
very
good
He's
angle.
biased
Yeah.
because he's looking for the
he wants the
redemption
revenge.
arc.
He wants the
It's
redemption.
very personal. Yeah, it's very personal. Yes.
I think, if anything, the way LDLC do like to play, I think Heretics do have a chance of upsetting the early game. And if you do upset the early game, like they did versus UOL, who was one of the most structured teams that we had over in EU Masters, if they can disrupt that early game for LDLC and then they can run over with it, I think they have very high chances of taking this series. And seeing how LDLC did struggle against Dusty, who is not necessarily a very aggressive, proactive team in the early game, Heretics shaking this up could shake up the entire series.
I mean, what's also a fact, Jumada, is the fact that LDLC will lose first game. They have done it every single series.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of true.
No,
Well, going undefeated to the finals didn't help them in spring.
No, it didn't. Crownie?
honestly, I agree with what the Trouble said, because as you saw, like against Yoel, they focused bot side heavily, right? And even against Dusty, they had like tendency to maybe give kills early. And if they're not prepared for Heretics, like early aggression, kind of similar to today, because we were expecting them to do some things, but like the first game we went into River level 1 and died, then we died to their gank, then the second game they were playing also very aggressively early. I think if Heretics open playing like that, and they play like Kalista or Draven with like Poppy, champions like that, and they can snowball bot side before LDLC can get a big enough lead top jungle, I could see them taking games. But I'm just not sure if that's enough to take the whole series. Because, as you said, like, I think LDLC is good at adapting from game to game. And I think they're better in team fights generally. So I would say if Heretics doesn't like win the games very hard from early game, I think LDLC should take it.
Yeah, I'm very much in the same line of thinking. I actually think Heretics have a pretty solid shot here. They just have to hamstring LDLC to not be able to teamfight at all. And I think, again, the URL series, the early games are super great. And I think we haven't really seen too many teams leverage that level of pressure from the bot lane in particular. So I think if they can repeat some of that into LDLC, they have a really solid chance of taking it. Maybe 3, I could probably see it going 5 games. I'm not sure it will go 4. I think it probably goes the distance. I would like to see Heretics win.
I mean, they've both gone 5 games in the quarterfinals.
Yeah.
Anything short of 5 would be a disappointment.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll be here tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Crownie's going to be here tomorrow. I hear Crownie talking. You should be here tomorrow. I mean, Crownie, I'm going to thank you so much for your time because your team, BDS Academy, is dominating. The LFL is dominating. And there's only one team left that can stop the French overlords. We'll see tomorrow if Team Heretics can make the miracle happen, or if LDLC and Crownie gets his redemption will just underline the French power. Should not miss that. That's it for the day. Thank you to everyone. Have a nice evening. And don't go 3-0 in your own series.